hardest year of my life. This was the year I had to take a chance and move my business from home-based into a warehouse. So I rented a warehouse at number 6 Hercules Street in Tullamarine. This was a 280 square metre warehouse, and I took out a 2-year lease with a 2-year option, which at the time was a really scary thing for me to do, because I also needed to rent a home so that I had somewhere to live. So there was a lot of changes. I moved all the stock into the warehouse, which seemed huge, and I had so much help from friends and family. Everyone came on board to help me get it set up. Then we also had, once we had it all set up, I had a bit of a party night at the warehouse before we opened. It was sort of like our grand opening, but just to thank all the people that had helped me get to that point. And that was a fun night in our big open warehouse. And then I started to open. We were just selling on eBay at this stage, but I started to open the warehouse direct to the public, where before we'd been by appointment only. So I needed to be there on a daily basis. And over the next few years, the business was really growing. I needed to increase my stock so that I could cover all the overheads of the rent. So when I headed off on my trips to Bali, I'd actually close the warehouse, and Jeff and Arlene would just come in 2 or 3 days a week to handle the dispatch, and I was actually running my business from Bali at night time and in the morning on the computer, and in the daytime sourcing products. So a lot of people thought I was drinking cocktails, but I was really working from probably 7 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night. So it was, I loved it. So sourcing products, I'm in my element. So I actually did a couple of trips to Java to try and find some new items, which I did source some great stuff from Java. And I started to establish some really good suppliers. So I started to find suppliers that if I needed to get something made, I could have something made, and just started to get to know them, and would get invited to ceremonies and into their homes or for dinner. And a lot of those friends from 2010, 2011 are still close friends today. So I'm very lucky. I had Bali set up with the perfect driver, had great cargo, and now I had great suppliers. The containers, I was bringing in 40-foot containers, and in Melbourne I was still relying on, I still only had the core group of me, Arlene and Jeff. So whenever a container came, I would be looking for anybody who was available to help unpack it. My brother would come down from the country to drive the forklift and helped with every container back then. And so many friends, and my mum would turn up. It was a real family affair, and I'm so grateful. I wouldn't have my business today without that support, because it was growing rapidly and I couldn't keep up with it. It was time then, I found that a 40-foot container of stock is absolutely massive. So it was taking me so long to get it all photographed and listed that I decided I needed to employ someone else. So my niece Christy came on board to do the listings. So that freed me up to focus on the photographing, and she'd get them listed more quickly than I could on eBay. So our little office now had 3 people in it, but it wasn't long before we actually had outgrown our 280 square metres. I thought I would be there forever. It seemed huge. And a warehouse became available across the road, number 13 Hercules Street, which is where I am right now and where we are still today. And I really wanted this warehouse and felt like it was time to take a chance to grow. So we actually signed a lease for this, but I still had, so we'd outgrown the other one before our 2 years was even up. and at one stage I had the 2 warehouses. So we got the new container of stock delivered to 13 because it wasn't going to fit in 6, and then slowly we started to move the stock across. So I had double overheads, and this was a time I was really scared because I felt I was at risk of losing my business if I didn't have enough sales to cover it. Luckily, someone from a warehouse across the road wanted to sublet my warehouse, so I did get out of that lease a little bit earlier, which helped out. So now Bali Abundance had grown from a home-based business into a 280 square metre warehouse, and now in less than 2 years into over a 500 metre square warehouse. So things were moving quite quickly, and I just kept focusing on moving Bali Abundance forward, and with the help of my great team, that kept happening until we hit a few speed bumps, shall we say. So stay tuned to what happened next.